Do you understand what's happening to Trump in New York? Do you have any idea? Nobody has any idea. I can, every time I have this conversation, it really, and I sound so arrogant when I say this, but I'm just saying it like, man, like these guys, people just really don't know how the world works for these people. So what they did with Trump is they said that he lied about the value of his home, Mar-a-Lago. He used that as collateral to get a loan. Do you know how loans work?
Gotcha.
All right, most people don't know how loans work. All right, I have a thing, okay, and I say that this thing is worth $1 million, okay, and I go to the bank and I say, listen, I need $100,000, and they say, okay, because this is how the banks make money. They say, okay, how are you going to pay me back? And you say, well, I'm using it for a business, and that business is going to make money, and I'm going to pay you back. And it's going to take me 3 years. So I need a 36-month loan. And they go, okay, what if you don't pay it back? And I say, well, I have this $1 million thing that you can have. It's basically a pawn. It's a pawn shop. A bank is a pawn shop. Like we use these like really fancy terms, and people wear fancy expensive suits to scare the common people away from what these things really are. The stock market is a casino. It's gambling. It's gambling. If you buy a call, you're like, look, I've got October calls on, and everybody's like, Jesus Christ, what is this?
You definitely get a rush from it too, I think.
100%.
Just like you would gambling.
100. It's gambling, but it's gambling the way that poker or blackjack are gambling, where you can make informed decisions. But the house, it's still rigged. It's rigged for the house. Don't get it twisted, man. It's gambling. A call is a bet. That's all it is. Do you know what a call is? All right, we're going to go through this. All right. So first things first. All right. You get the loan. They give you the loan because they say, hey, look, that thing's worth $1 million. They have somebody that comes and appraises it and says, all right, it's not worth $1 million, but that thing is worth $500,000. And then they take out insurance on that for $500,000. So if something happens, the bank gets that $500,000. So the bank makes a bet. The bank says, sure, I'll give you $100,000, and if you don't pay it back, I take your $500,000 thing. Okay? So they give you the $100,000. And then you pay it back, right? You get the money, you run your business, or in this case, you build your building, and then you pay the money back, and you're good. So what Trump did is he used his home, Mar-a-Lago, and he said it was worth $1 billion. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it was $1 billion, right? Or like 200 million. It was a lot. It was a ton of money.
It was like 200-300 million.
Yeah, it was a ton of money. Whatever. I'm just throwing out $1 billion. It was, So the bank gave him the loan against his house, right? So he built a building.
Just off him saying that's worth.
No. They send their own appraiser.
Gotcha.
They send their own appraiser.
And at the time, it was appraised for that amount.
Yeah, they have independent appraisers, and then he's got to get insurance on it. God forbid, like you can't burn the house down. Like we get the insurance. So they cover their assets. They cover their asses. But they need the money. They want money. I'm going to loan. Look, you're not a risk. I'm going to give you the money because I know you're going to pay me back. You have a good high credit score. So he gets the money, and he builds, which then makes him massively wealthier because now he can use that new building to get another loan. This is how the game is played. All right? So now, 30 years later, Letitia James, famous for running on the campaign slogan, too male, too pale, and too stale. That's how she got elected. Said that the New York State government was too male, too pale, and too stale. And if there's anything we know, that sexism and racism only matter if you're not talking about white men. So not only was she not pilloried for being sexist and racist, she got elected. And now she goes after Trump and says that he lied on this application. Now, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But here's the thing. He paid back the loan. There was no victims. The loan was paid back. There was literally a victimless crime that's decades old. And if that is the precedent, and Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank did a great job of saying this, if that's the precedent, well, now we have to go to every single person who ever took out a bank loan ever, and we have to say, all right, what were your assets here? Did you inflate your assets?
Well, right, because I had to get my first car. I had to say I was making 6 figures. And I think...
Were you not?
Of course not. Still am not. But that's the thing. And I think the salesman even told me.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you have to put over.
Yeah, no. That's how everybody makes money.
Right.
Did you pay back the loan?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So then what?
Yeah.
So who
Still
cares?
paying it, but yeah.
So who cares? You understand? Like now we're setting a precedent that says, oh, okay. Now here's the thing. Then they tried saying that Mar-a-Lago was only worth $18 million,
Which can't be true.
It's insanity.
It's
But because then
Palm Beach.
because what they then said is when he didn't want to pay back the $450 million bond, the ransom for his properties, they were like, well, just sell Mar-a-Lago. It's got to be worth $250 million. It's like, well, which one is it?
Right.
Which one is it?
Because if he doesn't pay that back, they take ownership.
So he just gotta stay on that. Kind of did a cold-blooded NWA. He's kind of like a 90s rapper in the way he talks, bro. They said, how are you going to pay back? And now they got to drop down to like 150. They were like, how are you going to pay back the 150? And he turned back. His people were trying to get him like, don't answer. He turned back to me and he goes, cash. Like, I fucking cash. I'm going to give you the 170 cash. But they have backed off at the last second because they know they're turning people off. They're losing the black community, they're losing the Spanish community, they're losing normal people. James Carville.
Who is?
The Democrats.
Okay.
Because it's like, bro, come on. What are we doing here? You're going to make him a victim? How did you go so far that you've made Trump a victim? This dude he grew up rich as shit. He does sleazy reality TV and he does sleazy
business
real estate deals. He makes international trades with people that gray area.
Sometimes he just doesn't pay people.
Yeah, he uses bankruptcy laws. But that's the thing. He uses the laws of this country to exploit the laws of this country in ways that like, Dave Chappelle said it best. I don't know if you saw what Dave Chappelle said about him when he did it on SNL. And he goes, Trump stood up there and he said, the system is rigged. I know because I use it. And then he turns to Hillary and goes, you could change the system tomorrow, but you won't because your donors like that it's rigged because they use it the same way that I do. And then she goes, no, it's not like that. And Dave Chappelle goes, and then every black man in America looked at it and goes, nah, bitch, is what he said. And in that moment, a star was born. And it's the truth. It's the truth. I said the same thing about PPP loans. I could be against PPP loans and 100% on board with anybody that took them. Because, look, if they're going to give the money out, don't be a chump. Bottom line here, folks, bottom line, don't be a chump. Do not be a low-hanging fruit. Remember your roots as an American.